good whatever time of day or night that you're watching this, so Steak doesn't give me shit for saying good morning.
I mean, it could be the morning. Who knows?
How is everyone? Sorry about that. How is everybody in our absence, because we took a long absence?
Unfortunately, yeah. Like, we got really busy with work, and life kind of snuck up on us.
Making that money.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good thing, though.
So, what's in the queue today?
So, we reached out to the WoW group on Facebook, and we posed some questions, like, what would they like to see? And the two topics we decided to cover today were brought up by two followers on the group. So, first one is Returning Player's Guide / Advice to BFA. Opinions on easy ways for players coming back to get wrapped up in new content and into things as fast as possible. And the second topic is gold making. How to keep up with gold sinks, such as azurite reforges, potions, food, repairs, maintaining multi-sets for gear for multi-spec classes.
Is that what pots means? Potions?
Yeah, it's pots. It's potions. I got my pots.
Okay, but saying pots makes it seem like you're, like, bringing stew.
Yeah. It's a pot of stew. So what I think about every time I drink a pot in a raid, I'm like, yeah, I'm drinking some potions. So I saw someone talking about it the other day. They were asking what a healing potion or a mana potion would taste like, and someone else was just like, it would taste awful, because medication in general tastes bad. It has the medicine taste to it.
Yeah, but you can also get, like, the mock potions and stuff on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
They're energy drinks.
Yeah, and a lot of those taste like shit, too.
Not really. One of them apparently tastes like Surge.
Oh, I'll have to try that one. I love Surge.
I think it's the energy one. Like the one to give you a boost of energy.
Oh, okay.
Is supposed to taste like Surge.
Okay. Alright, so on to what we're doing here. So, in response to the first one, so Returning Player's Guide here. So I recommend, like, starting in, assuming that you're, like, 110, say that you quit at the end of Legion, or during Legion, so you're 110. So assuming you're heading off into BFA content directly. If you're not, then just level up as you normally would until you reach BFA content. So,
which, the good thing is, right now leveling is remarkably easy.
Oh yeah, they trim down the amount needed.
It's very streamlined, so you're not going to have too terribly long of a leveling process. I mean, me personally, I just, started out with the Demon Hunter, so I just had a level 20 levels. That's not really that big of a deal.
Basically. But, like, they really circumvented a lot of the leveling you need to do, and it's really easy to do. Alright, so starting off in BFA, do the war campaign. They will be quests that are like tinted orange exclamation marks instead of your usual yellow. Do those, and they're marked special in your quest log too. They're actually in a little, they'll have your faction symbol, either the lion or the horde symbol, in front of them.
I do want to point something out real quick before we get too deep into sort of, not really irrelevant things, because it's relevant to the podcast, but not relevant to what I'm going to be saying.
Mm-hmm.
So, assuming that you didn't play through Legion or whatever, assuming that it's been a few expansions, the gold making process is going to be a little bit different, and...
Well, that's touching on the next one.
Well, let me finish. Leveling up in itself will give you a lot of gold. So,
anyways, let's to do the war campaign, and that's a really good thing to knock out. Don't worry about too much, farming the azurite on the bar, because it'll add up really quick. Like, you're going to get a lot, and, like, by the time you reach 120, your bar is already going to be at, like, 20 or 30, so you're going to be pretty good ways up there, and then every week they actually tune back how much you need to cap out on it, which is really nice. So you want to try to shoot for about, like, 35 now, if you can, which is pretty easy to knock out. Alright, let's see. So, I'll let you go ahead and tackle some of the stuff here.
I mean, you wrote down all of your responses, so...
They're super fancy. So, Island Expeditions and War Fronts. Now, you actually ran your first Island Expedition the other day with me, and...
I actually had a surprising bit of fun. However, I do want to touch on the fact that it would be a lot better if it was PvP.
Now, they do have PvP ones.
Yeah, but overall they're not PvP, and I feel like there's no point in doing them because they're not PvP.
They're a good way to get azurite up really quickly, because the end
I agree.
reward... Okay, so at a 120, the end reward is actually 2,500 Azurite power, and you get a quest which has the potential to get you other resources like more Azurite power, a crap load of gold.
I just feel like I'd be more likely to do them if they were PvP. I
Right.
mean, playing against a computer just doesn't feel very authentic.
Well, like I said, they actually have specific PvP ones you can queue up for. If you're in a group of 3, you queue for it, and you're fighting other players. So they have that.
I feel like it should all be PvP.
That's
I mean,
fair.
you wouldn't do a battleground if you were playing against a computer, would you?
That's fair. That's fair. They're basically just scenarios, but they give a lot of XP. Like, I was looking at my 115 priest, and to do a war or do an expedition, it was literally like 70k.
Oh yeah, it gave me a lot of XP
Yeah,
when
probably
I
like
did it.
70% of your bar knocked out.
I was at like 1/3 of my bar when I went in, and I came out at like, no, okay, so I was about at 1/4 of my bar, and I came out like at 3/4 of my bar, like filled up. So it gives you quite a bit. So I definitely do recommend using those to kind of level up if you can.
And especially too, stuff like the war fronts are really good once you meet the gear cap for those. They're really good because the boss is in there. So the boss in the Stromguard give a 370 gear minimum, and those can like level up. And there's also like you kill the rares and you get the gear from that too. And they're repeatable, so you can continue to queue up for them as many times as you want, and you'll get the gear level.
Also, like even just killing rares like outside of island expeditions gives you quite a bit of XP.
Outside of expeditions, stuff like that gives you XP, gives you Azurite, and potentially gives you gear, depending upon whether they drop something that you can use. Let's see. So, get friendly with all of the main factions, the main 3 factions on your island. So, say that you are Horde. You want Zandalari, Talanji's Expedition, and Voldani. And then, if you're Alliance, you want Proudmoore Admiralty, Order of Embers, and Storm's Awake. So, do the quest, like if you don't want to quest all the way through the zone, just do them each to get to friendly, because you're going to unlock world quests, which will gear you up very quickly.
Now, I had a question and I totally forgot what it was. Oh, so related to leveling up and gold making, figure out like I figured I would like ask the question now. Like what professions do you think this expansion are doing the best?
So, and it's not just limited to this expansion. That's something I've written down on my notes here, that gathering professions are always going to be in demand. You will get XP just from gathering, from mining, and from herbalism, both.
Yeah, and it's not just XP, but like you can also sell those for a lot as well.
You can sell them for hefty prices.
Yeah, that's why I was asking, because like that's related to leveling up and related to gold making, because you get both XP and you can sell it for a pretty sizable bit if you get a bunch of stacks.
So I usually try to sell it about like stacks of 200. I'm lazy sometimes and sell under, but like herbs right now are really high demand. Anything that is relevant to raiding, like herbs are gonna sell better than ore. Granted, ore sells for a really nice price too. Let's see. Oh, and cloth, but you know you get that just from killing humanoid mobs anyways. So to kind of catch up more with gearing, run normal dungeons while you're leveling up, and even after you hit 120, run them until you have the gear cap required for heroic dungeons.
And what's that?
I want to say 305 for normals to get into normals, and the gear that drops in there is baseline 340, which
That's
is
not
really
bad.
yeah, it's really nice. So run that until you have the gear level for heroics, which I think is 320. Heroics drop base level 355.
Now I do have a question, and it's also a personal question for myself.
Mm-hmm.
If you run things with like guilds and stuff, do you get any extra XP for being in a guild, or?
If I remember correctly, I think there's a leveling or experience bonus for being part of the guild anyways. I think that like you get a little bit more experience, but there's also heirlooms too, that you can like increase the amount of XP you get for killing monsters. And I think they're currently able to go up to 120. If not, that's something that's coming in 815.
Okay.
Which is going to be really, really soon. Like, not long after they release the next LFR wing. Because that's when they're going to introduce Sandalari and Coltiran allied races.
So, I do have another question. Sorry, this is a bunch of
Oh,
me
you're
asking
good.
questions. Um, Related to the leveling experience, which classes would you say are doing the best right now?
So, um, classes that can put out a lot of damage are really good. Hunters in general are always going to be really good and really easy to level because, for the most part, you've got a pet. You've got something that can hold the aggro for you, and you can fight whatever you're fighting without you getting your ass kicked.
Because you were telling me that, because like I asked where demon hunters are as
Mm-hmm.
far as like how good they're doing, and you said
Mm-hmm.
they weren't doing the best, but they're
So
not doing
that's
awful
I
either.
more meant that in the grand scheme of rating. Like in scheme of rating, they're kind of middle of the pack, which that's like I'm talking like mythic rating, like the hardest content you're gonna do. But like for leveling one, they're really good. Havoc or Vengeance is really good to level because Havoc you're putting out a lot of damage, and you're also like every time you kill something and get souls, you can heal yourself back up. They also have a lot of mitigation on their own, so they can negate a lot of damage. Vengeance, you've leveled as Vengeance. You've seen you're pretty unkillable as a
So,
tank.
for returning players, what class and or race do you recommend that they come back with?
Uh, so race not is kind of not really like it used to be relevant to the process, but now they've taken away a lot of the
That's why I also
yeah.
said class.
So classes, like I said, hunters are always good. Um, monks are really good now, healing wise. Windwalkers are really good. Brewmasters are really good at mitigating damage, and you can heal yourself with all three specs. You can heal yourself up. Any class that has a nice recovery mechanic, like a healing mechanic, is really good. Like I've been playing my Shadow Priest lately, and I can shield myself and heal myself at the same time, and he does a lot of damage, which is nice. Like I'm just wrecking stuff on him. And the thing is too, if you're coming from Legion, you probably have a couple legendaries. You can use those to 116. So the vast majority of your leveling experience, you can use that gear that came from your legendaries. Not just that, when you have it, sometimes you can double dip with the talents because they modified a lot of the BFA talents to be to model after the Legion legendaries or legendaries, I think is what we called them back then. So they modeled after those. Like there's one I think it's like Frozen Core or Frozen Heart for DKs for Frost, and you can double dip the damage on your Chains of Ice and do a lot of damage. Um, but yeah, DKs are really good. It's hard to level up as a healer. Like what you want to do with that is level as a spec that is not the healing spec. Like granted, gather up Azurite gear that's best
Healing.
for healing, and keep it around, and then just level up as the other spec. Because Azurite traits, while you're leveling up, not really a big deal because you're going to be constantly replacing it. But kind of gather a set together for that, and then so the Azurite traits, like I said, not a big deal up to 120. When you hit 120, yeah, that's when you're gonna want to start really getting gear that's for your spec. As a healer, you can queue into dungeons and get in there pretty quick. As a tank, you can level as a tank. Like it used to be really really slow, like way back in the day, like BC Wrath was kind of slow.
Oh, I have absolutely no problem leveling as a
Yeah,
tank.
no, like you don't take very much damage and you can heal yourself most of the time for most tank classes. Like I keep telling you, like level up Paladin. Like they're fun.
I'm set in my ways.
They're fun. They're really nice. They're hard to kill. Okay. So let's see. So I talked about the dungeons. So heroic dungeons. Once you get the gear for that, get into those. As you level up your gear, like once you hit 120, the world quests will start to scale the gear too, and the emissaries will start to give higher and higher gear until finally it reaches the cap of it being 385. The Warfront, the Darkshore Warfront will actually give you 400 item level gear as a base level. It can Warforge. Do whatever weekly quest there is. Say like this week it's time walking for Burning Crusade. Go ahead and knock that out because you get a nice 400 base level 400 gear from the raid. So it's a really nice way to get that gear. And once you're secure enough in your gear, say around 370 item level, 360, 370, start, grouping up from mythics. Start out Mythic 0 till you feel comfortable, and then work your way into Mythic Plus. Start off in low keys till you feel comfortable enough with that dungeon, until you feel comfortable enough in gearing. Because Mythic Zeros will give you a base level of 370 from the gear. Also, run LFR. If you run Desire Lore LFR, you get base level 370 from that, which is really nice. So then that catches you up to the point of raiding in general. Once you're ready for the raids, research the fights. Fat Boss has a really, really good guide. There's a lot of guides up to him, so just look it up, see who's looking for what. I will say that the group finder functionality has increased a lot since it first started, and it's really easy to find a group who's looking for something. Alright, so one last recommendation on all that is to set goals for your class. Where do you want your character to be, like, by the end of the expansion? Like, what do you want gear-wise? Do you want a PvP? Do you want to focus on PvE? It's honestly just what you want your character to be as. So, again, like, research your classes too. So, that about covers that, and if we think of anything else, I'll shell it out. Okay, now on to gold making, and I know that there's one program that you love to recommend because it is so glorious, and I love it.
TSM.
Oh yeah, absolutely, TSM, Trade Skill Master.
Although I feel like you and I are a little bit behind on knowing about it. We recommended it to a friend, and she was like, dudes, you're like years late on that.
But those that are like, that don't have it, that are interested in gold making, it's an absolutely great way to get into it.
Now, for those who don't know about it, can you give us a little bit of a rundown?
It basically, you download both an add-on and a
desktop app.
A desktop app. And the desktop app, you have it running while you're playing the game, and it actually scans your server to see like what the prices are. Your server and your realms, like, and you can put multiple realms on there. So say that you're on like my realm, for example. I put Azure Mist, Staghelm, because those are the two realms you're going to be buying off the auction house.
Yeah.
So you put those things on there, and it basically gives you a fair price, like a market value price, so you're not underpricing or overpricing on the market.
We're accepting sponsorships, TSM. Sponsor us.
But they're, if you want to learn more about TSM, I would check into our add-ons podcast we made, because like we give a really good rundown for that, and we also have links to TSM and stuff like that in there. Also
links to somebody who explained it way better than we could.
Yeah. Oh my god, that guy. He's like the Bob Ross.
I forget.
Of like WoW. I think it's Samadon plays WoW. I think is what his name is.
Either
YouTube.
way, I will also link it in this one because it is very relevant to gold making.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Just please love yourself and don't watch Asmongold.
So you asked me what gathering professions. Like, they're all really good. Not blacksmithing, but mining and herbalism are all really good. Skinning falls a bit behind the other two, but it's still really good because you can get a nice little crossover there.
I personally, my main is a miner. And it also mines things. But sorry about that. But once I start playing my Horde Demon Hunter, which hopefully will become my main at some point, has both the mining and the herbalism.
And like, it's even mining and herbing old mats while you're leveling up is still really good because there's still a nice price on those things.
I mean, whenever I was really like saving up to buy BFA, I went to
Kunlai Summit.
Yeah, which, by the way, if you are gold farming and you haven't quite got BFA yet, I really, really recommend Kunlai Summit.
Oh yeah.
That is where I was there for a long time, just mining
like
and mining and mining.
So like, getting stuff like Ghost Iron ore, because it still sells really well. It's like 6K for a stack of 200 of them.
Yeah, I made a lot of money just mining in Kunlai Summit, which, by the way, thanks to Grix, because he's the one who suggested that I go there. So shout out to you, man. Hi.
He hasn't played in a while. Come back, we miss you. Alright, so the other thing, if you want to like get into these topics, I'll let you cover this more. If you can read my handwriting.
So another thing is do the emissaries. And what is that, Paragoning? Paragoning rep will net you 4K. Wow. 4K gold per Paragon chest.
So that's like, touching on the other topic, basically, when I said get friendly with the reps, like, if you do the entire zone, you'll get pretty far into Honored, almost Revered. Once you hit Exalted with them, It only takes another 10k rep after that to get to your first Paragon.
So, before I move on into things that are written down here, something that you wouldn't expect to make a lot of gold from, open the chests whenever you find them.
Yeah. There's like the ones open world?
Yes.
Yeah, they're really good.
If you see a chest on your map, go to it, open it. I personally also get some gold from killing the rares.
Mm-hmm.
So if I see a rare, I'll get it. But if you're in BFA content, please do not, like, do yourself a favor and do not go after the what's it called?
Soul Goliath.
Yes. Okay, so legit advice here. Soul Goliath is a world quest boss. And you need a group. Like, my cocky ass decided, oh, it's a rare, I'm gonna go try and kill it, and I kept trying and trying and trying.
I think...
So, okay, a little bit of advice here before we move on to the gold mining, just because it's, I feel like it's important here.
Mm-hmm.
If you do come across Soul Goliath, keep an eye out for the ads that it spawns.
Mm-hmm.
That is what's going to fuck you in the butt.
So, like, and the thing is, too, is, like, you were, 116 when you ran into him?
Yeah.
So he's a level 122.
Yeah.
And what that means is, so for players that may not know this, you can still get what's called a crushing blow, and it does more damage than a usual blow, and they have a higher chance to crit on you.
Yeah.
Because they're more than 4 levels above you.
But yeah, just, love yourself, and don't try, like, if you're not, like, at least 120, don't try
Catch
and solo.
Look at its level first before you run into it, because, like, if it's a World Quest rare elite, it will fuck you up. It will hurt you.
Now, I'm not saying that it's not possible for you to kill it. Like, if you are really adept at your class, you know what you're doing, you know, you're good, you're fine, you know, but me personally, I didn't know what I was dealing with. I just thought he was, I just thought he was a rare, because he came up as a star.
That whether or not, like, you can know your class as well as you, awesomely, and you're still going to get killed by him.
There were plenty of people in the WoW group that did just fine on him. But
at that level?
I think that they were 120.
Yeah.
Most people are 120.
If you're 120 in a tank, you could solo him pretty well, as long as you have good healing mechanics for yourself.
So moving on, sorry I went on that tangent. Island expeditions can drop pets and transmog gear that sells nicely.
Mm-hmm.
And not to mention, you're going to get a lot of XP, you're going to get a lot of gold simply just from doing it.
So when you get to 120 and you do them, there's actually a weekly quest. And the weekly quest gives you the Azurite you get from doing the actual each expedition, but it gives you 2,500 Azurite power. And then you'll get this little quest. It's like a little map. And it gives you a quest or mission table mission. And you have a chance to get one that gives you a shitload of AP, a shitload of gold, or a shitload of Titan Residuum. Which are all 3 desirable things. Like, when I'm talking about gives you a lot of gold, you get 5k gold just from that. It's a lot of gold. And
so, sort of moving on, but also transmog, that we're talking about. Don't be selfish like I am. Level alts, because you're going to get a lot of gold just from leveling, and you're also going to get a lot of transmog just from leveling, so level alts.
and if you have the time, go and run the older raids. The higher level you are now, say you're 120 and decently geared, you can go into WAD levels right now and just clear them out and get really nice transmog. You can go to so see, WAD, Legion. You can even clear out, Legion Mythics.
My 100% favorite raid to do. I can do it in my sleep with my eyes closed.
Black Temple?
Yes, Black Temple.
So you can, if you're really well geared, you can potentially solo something like normal Emerald Nightmare and get transmog out of that.
I mean, you're not going to get much from scrapping some of the low-level stuff from running something like Black Temple, but you'll get something. Yeah,
no, the bosses drop a fair bit of gold too. The cattle bosses drop a lot of gold. The mop bosses drop a lot of gold. Throne of Thunder, you get a couple thousand just from doing that one.
But like I said, just questing itself, just leveling up in itself is going to get you a lot of gold. Especially Legion content is going to get you a lot of gold.
Yeah. So like I said, the Gathering Profs, if you have them for an alt, are really good. Hang on. Get some more on this page.
There's nothing else there.
So, when I said scrapping, What I mean is, like, when you're doing BFA stuff and you get the gear that you were using before, you can scrap it and get the resources that would go and make it up. Like, say you're a cloth wearer and you have a piece of gear that you got on a quest, and then you get a better piece of gear that replaces that piece. Take the one you had and scrap it, and you can turn it into, like, cloth. And you get enough of it, and you get a lot of cloth.
This sentence doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, so it was saying the person asked this question. The last part of their question was maintaining multiple sets of gear from multiple spec classes.
Okay, but you're talking about the Azurite system.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say why. So, in maintaining multiple sets of gear, unfortunately, the Azurite system, as it is currently is, puts pressure on players to maintain multiple pieces. So that will change in the future. They've already talked about having it just where all the traits are on the necklace instead of on the gear pieces themselves.
So were you talking about how, like, whenever I tried to switch out my weapon for an upgrade, it told me I couldn't use anything because I had to have 2 weapons?
Yeah, that too.
That was upsetting.
That sucks. Leveling up a dual-wielding class like a Demon Hunter or like a Fury Warrior or like a Frost DK, and you get there, and you've been using this one weapon all through Legion, and you can't even replace it until you have 2 weapons on you. And it's like, that is such a pain in the ass.
And so you're sitting there with an upgrade in your bag.
Yeah, you'll sit there for a while, and it's like, that's just going to kind of chill in my bag for a while. Alright. Okay, so to answer the question of what to do about things such as, like, potions, and so that's a big sink. Like, potions are really expensive on the auction house. Like, and even, like, augment runes and stuff like that are really expensive, too. Which, by the way, run LFRs, get augment runes, or if you have a tank spec, and it's the, you get the extra little bag, run it. Get the augment runes. A stack of 20 on my server is selling for almost 10k. Which is, you know, I've got, like, 3 or 4 stacks of those things. I'm just, if I really need to, I'll pop them up in an auction house. Alright. So for things such as, like, potions, I recommend having, like, an alchemy alt, or have it as your main. And then if you use the herbalism prof on multiple characters, you can funnel all those herbs to that character. And rank 3 of the potions and flasks has a chance to proc potions and flasks. So say that you're trying to get, like, Agipots, and you proc, like, 20 at a time.
Agipots?
Agility.
Oh.
And I've actually done that. I've actually procced, like, 20 before. And even making cauldrons. Now, cauldrons are bound to account, but, you know, you can send anybody your account. I made, I want to say, a stack of 8 one time. And I was like, holy shit. Because that's, like, that's a lot of resources saved. But yeah, just have, like, an herbalism main or an alt, and then funnel all those herbs to that character. And so that way, you know, any extra herbs you have, or any extra potions and flasks you have, you can pop those things on the auction house. And they will sell really quickly. Especially toward the beginning of the week. You pop it on, like, Tuesday afternoon before all the raids get going, or Monday night, you're going to make bank. Because people are like, hey, I'm running out of resources from last week, I'm getting ready, I've got to buy potions. People that are in a hurry, that have a lot of gold to spend, and have a lot of gold to drop on stuff, you know, that's a really good investment for you, because they're constantly in demand. Alright, okay. Let's see. So, as far as the gearing, like how to prevent having to constantly reforge your gear, is save up the Titan Residuum and get spec-specific pieces to get rid of the need to reforge. I know that sounds like a lot, but if you get, like, if you're not super high-end rating, you know, keep a piece that's like a 385, because they're like 165 Titan Residuum right now, which is, you know, not that big. So, if it's an alt spec, like say that you're normally a healer, but you like the DPS for your quests, having a piece that's maybe like 59 levels lower is not that big a deal. Especially with, like, the higher required gear, like the 415s and 400s, they require a lot of Azurite power just to unlock the traits. I don't think anybody right now has unlocked all the traits on the 415 gear. Like, even the people that are, like, super high progression, you're talking about Azurite power levels of, like, you know, 45 or 47, and, like, I'm barely at 40, and I'm ahead of a lot of people on my server. So, Um, let's see. So I will say, unless you're mythic rating, don't worry about having the ideal perfect traits because the difference in it. Now, I will say that there are some traits that are obviously very very good, but don't worry about having ideal ones because your DPS is not going to, you're not looking at the 1-2% increases. Mythic Raiders, yeah, they're looking at that 1-2% increases because that's a lot of damage output on a boss that 1-2% can make a deal. That can make a difference in a fight. Say you're trying to push a boss beyond a certain threshold, say that the next phase begins at 60% of the boss's health, and you've been having trouble like pushing that health, well, you get the 1 or 2% increase. That's a 1 or 2% increase in damage. That's a 1 or 2% increase in the boss's health going down. So it's a big deal. But again, if you're mythic rating, you're generally doing high end keys and getting that gear anyways. Like I said, I know the struggle. I play multi-spec classes. I juggle between tanking and DPS. And sometimes I've had to go, you know what? I'm going to be doing this role for a while. I need to focus on it. So find your main spec and kind of hold on to those pieces. Now, I will say that a lot of specs can have gear that can work for both, which is nice. Like Demon Hunter gear is pretty interchangeable because the stat the stat balance is pretty much the same. Like haste and versatility are two of your top stats for both. So that's definitely a good thing to keep in mind there. But again, like having those ideal things, unless you're doing top end rating, is not going to make or break your class. It's not going to make or break you as a player. Did you have anything to add?
Not really. We're so, like, under what we usually do.
So I think maybe talk a little bit about, like, trying to balance the game
and work life.
And work life and real life. So I'll say this, guys. I know that there may be some younger people listening to this. Alright, I started playing WoW when I was like 19.
Don't neglect your work and your school to play a game.
Yeah, like, don't neglect real life. Like, real life is gonna happen, and if you're in a guild or, like, with a group of friends and, like, they are consistently telling you to, like, shirk off real life responsibilities, you need to step away from that because that's a very toxic environment to be in, especially if you're someone who doesn't have very good self-discipline, who kind of falls into peer pressure. You need to step away from it and be like, hey, I need to focus on real life.
Because, like, I love doing this podcast. I love playing the game. But unfortunately, I have studies to do.
Mm-hmm.
I have work, like, if I've got responsibilities that come first, I can't exactly shrug those off.
Right.
To do, like, things in the game or to do the podcast. Like, it's really great to escape reality for a while and really get immersed in the game, but don't let it take you over.
And also, try not to sacrifice sleep for the game. I mean, I know it seems alluring and I've done it myself, but really, guys, it's not the best thing to do. Now,
your health, your real life responsibilities come before a game.
Yeah, like if your health starts to suffer because of the game, you need to take a step back and become a little more casual on the game.
And you know what? This isn't just like your physical health. Like something like WoW and something like Guild putting unrealistic expectations on you can really mess with your mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And your mental health is just as important as your physical health.
Oh, yeah. But I think we're probably going to call this one a little bit early because we kind of touched on the topics we need to touch on. Feel free, guys. Is it World of Warcraft group on Facebook is what it is, or?
The one that I'm in?
Yeah.
I'll link it in the description. If you are coming from the group, hello. If you did suggest something and we didn't cover it today, don't worry. We will get to it eventually. Mm-hmm. I loved every topic that you guys suggested, and we will touch on it. So I do now have a separate Etsy shop for our merch.
Okay.
So far, all I have up is just a mug. I will be working on some other merch. I do want to know what you guys would buy. Would you buy shirts? Would you buy hoodies? Would you buy mugs? What would you buy? Because I don't want to put out anything that people aren't going to like.
Mm-hmm.
We are rather, going to try and be more active on our social media. like our Facebook page. I'm actually probably going to redo the Facebook page so we can actually have
Okay.
the name that we need. So just to kind of explain that, if you do look us up on Facebook as Today in the Queue, you're not going to find us, because I didn't realize at first that World of Podcast was taken, and so that's what our Facebook name is, and they won't let me change it, which is dumb if you ask me.
Yeah.
But we also do have an Instagram that I will try to be more active on. Let me know what kind of content you guys want to see. I don't want to just post things that
only interest us. Like, we want, you guys are our audience, especially like the WoW group on Facebook. You guys are really, really helped us out here, because you are our target audience. You're the people that we want to interact with, because you're the ones that are going to listen to this. You love the game, or you play the game, and you have maybe some topics that you want addressed.
Exactly. So just community feedback really helps.
Mm-hmm.
But
like, it's like, say you don't, like, you listen to our podcast and you don't like it. Tell us what we can do to change it. Tell us, how we can improve, and we'll work on doing that.
And if you do like what we talk about, please let us know so we can keep doing it. We definitely want to know what you guys want to hear. I don't want to just sit here and talk into the void and just kind of fish
Well,
for...
I mean, we kind of are talking into the void with what's coming in future patches, right? I mean...
Which, by the way, I want to know what everyone else's theories are about where you think things are going. We have a previous episode where we talk about where we think 8.1 is going.
1.8 was like freaking, I think, Nax, like the original Naxxramas.
But, yeah. So, I will also be working on our Patreon.
Okay.
Patreon? How do you say that? So, I'll drink...
I'll drink to that.
I'll drop that in the description as well. So if you want to become a patron, then feel free to hit us up there. But until next week, or whenever we come back, because it may not be next week. Sorry. See ya.
See you guys.